Hey guys, it's Ellie from Elliesbookclub, and in today's video, I am going to be answering your guys' writing questions. So about a week ago, I asked people on Instagram to just write questions on my story about me finishing the first draft of my book. So I am going to be answering those questions in today's video, so let's just jump right into it. So first of all, I just wanted to say I got so many positive questions. I got a lot of feedback. Thank you guys so much for responding to my story and giving me so many wonderful questions. So I have my computer here and I'll just start reading the questions off and giving answers. So the first question that we have is, any advice for writers who are just starting their projects? So I could go on and on and on about advice on that. So my main advice is, no matter what, just keep pushing towards the end of the story, I guess. You know, like, no matter how you're feeling, no matter what people are saying to you, just keep going for it. Because there were times when I felt like I was never gonna finish, and then I just plowed through it. I was like, you know what? I could be someone's favorite author someday, so I want to finish this book. And I finished it, or at least the first draft of it. So that's my main advice. What inspired this story? That's a very good question. So one day I was just writing stories with my best friend at the time, and I lived in Florida at that time. And I came up with this story. I was like, oh, there's gonna be a mermaid who doesn't know she's a mermaid and all this other stuff. And I can't say any more without spoiling it, but I did come up with a shorter, condensed version of the story when I was like 10 years old. And I showed it to my best friend at the time and she loved it, and I was like, huh, maybe I could write this into a book someday. And then about a year ago, I think, almost 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I don't know, I was with Bella from Bellatrix Reads. Y'all should go check out her channel. She also does writing videos too. But I was with Bella and I told her about this idea and she was like, oh my gosh, you should totally pursue that. And so I did. The next question is, what is your least favorite part of your story? I would say my least favorite part, I think, is, I want to say chapter 5. I can't really say what happens though because I really don't want to spoil it, but it was just a really slow chapter. I believe it was chapter 5. It was either chapter 4 or chapter 5, either one of the two. But I just remember it being really slow and just really uneventful, and I really just didn't like it, but it was necessary to write it for the plot though. The next question is, what are some of your favorite quotes? Okay, I will give you my favorite quote. Just hold on. I'm only gonna do one of them though. This is gonna take me a second. Okay. So here is my favorite quote, just a little context before I read it. This is the last monologue that the main character gives before she stands up to the villain of the story. But here we go. Please, guys, don't judge me in a negative way for this, but I personally love this quote. I guess a castle is everything you need if you have a heart to pillage, if you want to be the wrong kind of queen. I suppose you need tall stone walls for your castle and your mind. If you want so much more than any man or woman has a right to. Her confidence rose with her voice. I believe these individuals feel lonely behind such stone fortifications, nervous as they load their world with weapons, each as lethal as the previous evil they inflicted on the weaker. Those selfish ones who sit and gulp, taking whatever and whomever they choose, preach as they do. Yes, I can see why they'd want to live in such a structure, big and empty, dank with few windows and surrounded by their own disgusting filth. It's really wonderful. It's wonderfully evil and wrong. You don't have to do this. I know you can be better than this, Pandora. I love that quote. I remember that quote took me forever to write, and I love it personally. So the next question is, what are 3 words to describe your book? Lonely, loving, and accepting. Those are the 3 words I would use to describe it. Do you have any favorite authors? Yes, I do. I love Stephen King and I love Cassandra Clare. I also have been starting to get into Sarah J. Maas. The next question is, how long have you been working on your book? So I started writing this book in July of 2021, so it's been almost a year. And I had the idea for the book since I was about 10 years old. The next question is, were there any scenes more challenging to write than others? Yes. I could list off numerous scenes that were so difficult. There were some of the LGBTQ plus scenes that were very, very difficult for me to write, but I mean, that's what revisions are for, you know? Like, I can just easily go back and revise and make it exactly like how I want it to be, so. The next question is, do you have any other books in the works, or are there any sequels to this one? So, I'm actually going to post a NaNoWriMo Part 2 vlog up in about 2 weeks from now, most likely. And that vlog is dedicated to me starting a new project, actually, and it's actually the prequel book to this current book that I just finished. And this one is in a different realm because there are 4 different realms in this like world, and this one takes place in a different one. However, it does have a few of the same characters as this novel. However, the main character is different and there's a huge new plot, but it definitely connects to what happens in this one. And I'm really proud of it. So far, I'm at 56 pages in that book, which is crazy because I just started that book like 3 weeks ago. And I think I can finish the first draft of that one in like July, which is crazy. But yes, I am working on another project, and it is a prequel to this one, actually, so stay tuned for that one. The next question is, did you ever struggle with writer's block, and if so, how did you overcome it? Writer's block is a thing that every writer struggles with at some point in their careers, and I definitely struggled with that in this book for sure. So I originally started this book in July, as I mentioned earlier, and I think I got about 12 pages in, and I just didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have the book planned out, and I just thought that I was horrible. But then November NaNoWriMo came up, and Bella was like, oh, you should continue your story. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to. And I just word vomited stuff. Like, you can just word vomit and just bullshit as much as you want. You just have to go back and edit that for the second draft when your mind is refreshed and you forget about what you wrote. Then that's when you're ready to make revisions. But I just had that in the back of my mind for the whole NaNoWriMo November, and I just kept going. I just wanted to finish this. And yeah, so the months between July and November, I just felt really bad about myself that I couldn't do this. I felt like I was never going to be good enough to even finish writing this. And I did finish it, so I'm really proud of myself. But just remember, it's okay to be bad, and it's okay to do what you want to do. There were some times when I had no motivation to write because I didn't have my novel planned until about like half of it was written. Then I was like, oh, I should actually physically write down the rest of the outline for this before writing the second half of this book. But it doesn't matter what you do. Like, that's how I personally went about my first book, because it was the first one I've ever written, and like I didn't know what I was doing. And so I just always had it in the back of my mind, you can do whatever you want with it, and no one's gonna judge you. Yes, I know that you're supposed to go back and make revisions for draft 2, but there were some times when I was just thinking to myself, I don't know what more I want to write with this, so I'm just gonna go back and like do more stuff with previous things that I've already written for this book. And you just need to take it at your own pace. Don't force yourself to like write when you don't have inspiration, and you also don't have to have an outline. You can just wing it. Like I winged it for the first half of the book, and the second half is when I actually finished the outline. And for the current book I'm working on, I actually have the entire outline already written out, and that's also why I'm like flying through this book. But yeah, that's just what I have to say about that. Writer's block is very, very hard, but there are ways you can move past that. The next question is, how did you celebrate finishing? I celebrated by going out to dinner with my family because I was at home when I first finished my book, and then I came back to campus and my boyfriend got me apple cider and we just celebrated together. I didn't really do much though. Like mentally I was freaking out. I was like, oh, I finished my book, oh my gosh. I was crying like crazy when I finished it. But I didn't really do much to celebrate it, but yeah, that's just me personally. The next question is, do you see any traits of yourself in your characters? Yes. I definitely do see myself in all of my characters at some point, but particularly the main character more than anybody else, because I kind of went through similar things that she goes through, especially near the beginning of the book, and Maple is literally me. Like, she looks like me and her personality is more like mine, and so I don't know, she's just a really special character for me because she is how I would envision myself as a book character. So, do you have a favorite character? Yes, I do. I have two favorite characters. I don't want to say their names, but they're both boys, and that is the only hint that you guys are getting for that. Any advice to other writers working on the first drafts of their novels? Again, with the advice stuff, I could go on and on and on about advice. I guess another tip I would have is to track your progress no matter what. Track your progress, like whenever you're done with a writing sprint or whenever you want to put it away, make sure you track your word progress, your page progress, just whatever you want to do. I personally use the NaNoWriMo website because every time you put your word count in there, it tells you how many more words you need to go until you meet your goal for the month or for the next couple of months. But I always use that website because the more I track my progress and the more I have progressed through my projects, I'm just like, oh, well, that's a lot. Like, I could just keep going. You know, it just motivates me more to just want to continue writing. So I definitely recommend tracking your progress for sure. The next question is, what was the most challenging part of writing it? For me, the most challenging part was staying motivated. It was really hard for me because I was so new to writing. I had never written a book before, and I didn't know what I was doing at all. Like, I just kind of winged everything. Like, the only thing that I planned out was the 3 main characters, and that was it before I started writing it. Like, that was all I had in my head. I was like, I knew I wanted these 3 main characters. I just didn't know what I was doing with that. And so I just randomly started writing stuff, and it was bad. And so then I would just go back and edit it later and add stuff and take things away and things like that. But for me, just staying motivated was really hard. With my current book that I'm doing a first draft of, which is the prequel, for that book, I am definitely motivated. And I know it's solely because I have all the characters planned out. I have the whole plot planned out for this book, and I know it's because of that, because it's so much easier to write when you see an outline in front of you of, like, you know, how you want the book to be. And yeah, but staying motivated was definitely the hardest part for me. The next part is, what do you think is the best way for small booktubers to let their channels be known? Um, I think that if you want your booktube channel to be known, definitely start your channel now, because it's better to start now than start down the road when there's more YouTubers out there. And also post as much as you can, because there was a time when I didn't post for 3 months, and I deeply regret that because my algorithm got really messed up after that, and it still is messed up to this day. And so I definitely recommend posting whenever you want and posting a lot if you can. However, mental health is the most important thing, and if you mentally just can't bring yourself to do it, then don't do it. But yeah, that's my advice for that. The next question is, how was writing the process thus far? So the writing process went by faster than I thought it would, actually. I thought I wouldn't be done with this book until July, and I even reached out to a publishing company and everything, and they were like, when are you going to be done with your first draft? And I said, oh, probably mid-July, because that's when I first started it. But nope, it was way faster than that. And there was a time when I think I wrote about 40K words in a month, which is the most I've ever written in a month. And this process has been so fun, and there were times when I doubted myself, where I feel like I wasn't going to ever be good enough, or nothing was going to happen with this, but I've had so much positivity because of this book. So many people have been so kind to me, and it's been such an amazing process, and I don't know, I'm just so excited to see where I go as an author, hopefully. The next question is, what makes your book unique to those already published? So what makes my book unique is that it takes place on a beach in the water, and I don't know, I feel like you don't really get too many books that are like that. I don't know. And there's royalty involved, there's LGBTQ+, there's so much going on in this book, and I personally love it, and I think those are all unique qualities to put in a book. So the next question is, do you have a character or characters in your book that are your favorite? This is similar to another question that was previously asked, and yes, I do have 2 favorite characters, and I will not say their names because spoilers, I don't want to. I don't want to spoil anyone and what their names are, but all my character names are pretty unique, and I don't know. I love these 2 characters so much with everything that I have, and so I'm not gonna say their names. The next question is, what can you share with us about what your book is about that you're willing to share? So my book is about a girl named Maple. That is the only name I will reveal for this. And she is about to turn 15 years old, and her mother, she feels as if her mother is like hiding her from the world, and so she decides to just, let her curiosity take the best of her. And she has lived on a houseboat her whole life, and she just wants to leave the houseboat. That's all I'm gonna say for now, because I really, really don't want to spoil anything. The next question is, how did you go about planning your book? I didn't plan my book. I always knew I was gonna do a story along these lines, I guess. And I just kind of winged it for the first half of it, and then the second half of it I was like, okay, it will probably be more organized and easier if I just had at least the last half of the book outlined. So then that's when I made my outline, and as I was physically writing my book, I would cross things off on the outline checklist as I wrote them. So that's just how I planned everything out, and then I do have more books planned in this series, and I'm really excited for that. The last question is, what inspired you to get into writing? There was a lot of factors that played into this. So I told the story before. I was 10 years old. I was with my best friend at the time, and I just came up with that story, and she really liked it. I really liked it, but then I thought nothing of it and just completely left it alone. And then fourth grade came around and I had a really mean fourth grade teacher. We had to do writing journals every Friday, and I would write fantasy stories. They would all be different fantasy stories, and she would always tell me, oh, you suck, like you should just, you know, try something else, or she would just say mean things to me like that, and that kind of motivated me, I guess. And then after fourth grade, I moved to Colorado and I was a fifth grader. And in fifth grade, we started doing writing journals again. And I just had in the back of my mind just everything that my fourth grade teacher would tell me. And I wanted to prove her wrong. And so I would write really fun stories for fifth grade, and I would always get perfect scores on them, like perfect 100s. And then my teacher, he told us that he is going to take the top 4 best writers in the class and put them in a play of the current book we were reading. And the book that every fifth grader was reading at the time was called The Secret School. And so yeah, basically every single fifth grade class, they had the 4 best writing students all come together from each class and do a play of that book. And I was picked, and the author of The Secret School, he was the director of the play. And on that same day, we had our very first play practice, and he had us audition for the different roles, and I got the lead role of the play too. And I feel like I could do anything I wanted to. I feel like I can do anything I put my mind to. And so ever since that one day, I've just been really obsessed with writing. I've always written short stories ever since then, just whenever I have the free time. And then it wasn't until high school, senior year, when I met Bella, and she really inspired me. She told me that she was working on a book, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so cool. I want to do that. And so I just went and did it, and now my book is a thing. Like now it's like I have a physical copy of it. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's just what inspired me. And also, in the middle of this writing process, I've had so much love and support from everybody, and it means so much to me. And yeah, that's just how I really got into writing. Okay, guys, so thank you so much for asking all these wonderful questions, and I really hope I gave really good, thorough answers. But that is the end of today's video, and if you liked this video, then please like, subscribe, and turn on those post notifications. Bye!